Hey guys, welcome back to another Gridiron Football presentation of Ballin in the Boot. This is playoff time, the road to the Dome, as we break down the Division Four non-select playoff bracket. I'm joined by Grant Safshere, Alex Allison, and Daryl Felker. Alex and Daryl are Gridiron Football beat writers for us and do a great job. And appreciate Grant for hopping on. If Grant has to leave, he has some interviews to do for Crescent City. We'll be able to manage it as well, the situation too, if that's the case. But we're going to break down Division Four non-select, and the biggest question here is whose bracket is it going to be with Oak Grove moving up from Division Four non-select to Division Three non-select. Let's look at the playoff bracket and see how it looks in Division Four non-select. So we have Haynesville, the Golden Tornadoes. Talk about winning a lot of state championships. They've won the second most all time in Louisiana high school football history, only behind John Curtis. They're led by head coach David Franklin. Remember, this team lost in the state championship game last year to Oak Grove. Now Oak Grove is gone, and they have the opportunity to be the favorite and win a state championship in Division Four non-select. They'll play the winner of number 16 Montgomery and number 17 Vinton. We'll have number 9 Wells. They will host number 24 West St. Mary. Number 8 Faraday. They have a bounce back year as well. They got a lot of really good talent, including a lot of talent that played in their junior high gridiron football All-American Bowl game in the last 2 years. And you see some of those type of players playing up in the varsity level, and they've done a great job of getting back Faraday into this conversation of competing for a deep playoff run. We also have what a season for North Iberville. This is their first varsity season led by Coach Joshua Gass, and they've also had some players that go on to the Gridiron Football Junior High All American Bowl game, and now they are really sent a message to North Iberville that they're going to be a program to follow for the next couple of years with a great first year in varsity action. They'll host their first varsity game in like 30 years as they'll take on number 28 over. Number 12, General Drafts. Coach Tuania Wells does a great job with that program. They were in a shootout, 84-82 loss. They came on the losing side of that one to Delta Charter, but they are a dangerous team. They made semifinal runs in years past. They'll take on number 21 seed Centerville, number 13 seed Grand Lake. They've had some great runs in the past, including one time they played in the state championship game when they played at Northwestern State, where they lost to Oak Grove. That's a team that can make a run. They'll play number 20 seed Jonesboro Hodge. They'll take on number 4 Generette, who has a bye. And Generette has a lot of really good athletes. They were undefeated for a while until they got their first loss of the season. They'll take on the winner of that Grand Lake Jonesboro Hodge game. The Quincy also having a great season this year. They're a team that can definitely have one of their best seasons in quite a while. That's a team we haven't talked about too much this season, but the Tigers are having a great season this year. They have could be a sleeper here to win go into state championship and potentially win. They'll take on talk about sleepers. Watch out for that number 14 White Castle team. They got some athletes, Shedrick Allen and others. That is a team not to sleep on. They'll take on number 19, Franklin. Number 11, Elton. They've lost some high scoring games this year. They've won some high scoring games this year. They'll take on number 22, Bazil. Number 6, Logansport. This is a team has always been consistent, has been in the running of a state championship. Coach Kevin McGee won his 100th game this year, so congratulations to Coach Kevin McGee. They'll take on number 27 seed, Vardo. Number 7, Mangum will take on number 26 seed East Iberville. They'll host the Tigers there. Number 10, West St. John. West St. John's been a team we talked about years before of being that playoff team, that championship team. Been a couple rough seasons, but it looks like they're bouncing back and getting back to that level with a great season this year. They'll host Arcadia. Number 15 seed Homer. Watch out for this 15 seed. They can be a sleeper in this bracket. The Pelicans on the Richie Casey have a lot of talent. They can sneak up and beat a lot of teams. They'll take on East Feliciana. And what a season for Coach Lyle Fit in South Plaquemines. I actually saw this team against Amy in the spring, and they held their own against Amy, and they held their own just a couple weeks ago against Newman too. And really Newman's closest game of the year. They'll take on the winner of Homer East Feliciana. That is your Division 4 non-select bracket, and it's really up in the air, guys. I mean, Haynesville is the favorite, but Grant, I'm going to start off with you. Are you taking Haynesville here, or are you taking the field here?
Well, the favorite obviously has to be Haynesville. I mean, for obvious reasons, they're the defending runner-up for Division 4 non-select last year, where they lost against Oak Grove. And to be honest, the Oak Grove was the biggest school in that bracket last year, and they were a 2A school going because of 1A school. I'm not saying it was unfair or anything like that, but also Oak Grove is just really, really good too. Also at the same time, so I think that the move up was better for all sides considered. Also, Oak Grove. I think they'll, like we did. I predicted them to win the to be the state champion for Division 3 non-select. So it just shows you how high I think of Oak Grove. It has something to do with them playing against 1A schools. They're just that good. Haynesville, on the other hand, has returns a lot of players from that team from last year. They're currently undefeated, and really, I just think that overall, I think they have a very easy path to get into the dome once again, and really will win. And I think they will win the state championship. Uh,
I think he cut out.
Yeah, lost
their
our
first
first.
championship. So that freeze.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
for a second, but we got you back on.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Where did I leave off at?
You said that Haynesville would be the favorites and for the state championship, and then I
Yeah.
think also that about different team.
Yeah, so they have a relatively easy path to get there. So let me pull up the bracket real quick, just kind of look on my phone real quick. So I mean, after the quarterfinals, I'm assuming they're gonna have to play the winner of Welsh and Faraday if all
Yeah.
things work out. But then and then the semifinals have to play Generate and probably like Generate or somebody like that, or Grand Lake or any of those teams.
Yeah.
But I think,
Yeah.
but like my point is, they have an easy path to get there.
Yeah.
And so, but in the lower bracket, shoot, I even think South Plaquemines, and South Plaquemines,
Yeah.
me and Jay talked about this on our show. Is like that game right there. I think Homer will beat East Feliciana in the first round. Then Homer will play South Plaquemines. Don't be fooled by Homer's record. I know
Yeah,
Homer is like 5-5 or 6-4. Yeah, they're 5-5. But if you look at all of their losses, they lost against Houghton, who's a 5-8 team. They lost against Minden, who's a very good 4-8 team, and I think is a sleeper in Division 2 non-select. They lost against Haynesville, but Haynesville's the best team in this bracket right now.
Gave
Haynesville
the best game the entire season, by the way. They've had.
exactly, which is 12-27. Then they lost against Union Parish and Calvary Baptist. Those are all their losses. I mean, those are 5 really good losses. And then you look at the rest of the schedule, they beat who they should have beat. So, I mean, this is a very sneaky Homer team. They've been battle tested, and that's why I said it's not only just about experience, because obviously Homer's had the losses as the playoffs, but if you look at their schedule, they've been battle tested, and that matters, right? That matters. And like, for example, look at Rummel. Rummel was a 4-6 team last year. I know, and they also had to go through a lot of injuries, but playoff time came. They went up against Northwood Shreveport and Captain Shreve, and they played teams that were much better than both those teams, and beating teams that were much better than both teams, and that led them to go to the semifinals. Playing tough teams in the regular season matters. That's why I picked them to lose. That's why I picked them to not go to the state championship. Competition in the regular season matters because even if you lose those games, you know you can compete with the best teams. And then when you compete with those teams, will play teams that are not nearly as good as the teams you play in the regular season. That's why it matters. I think Homer will make a run. They have a great possibility to make a run. I think Mangum will be in the quarterfinals. So I mean, I think Homer has a possibility to make a run. I think it's Haynesville. We'll go to the state championship on the bottom. It's going to be hard to pick a team to determine who's going to go to the semifinals or to the dome per se. Because any of those teams, in my opinion, can make it to the dome.
Yeah, Grant. Looking at, I think Haynesville is your favorite. They got the yeah. I would say Haynesville is your favorite on the top side of the bracket. They're undefeated. They were in the dome last year. I think they're a year away too. I think Haynesville fans knew about it, and they still made the dome. So I like this Haynesville football team. I think Faraday is getting back to where they want to be. Remember, they went to the state championship back in 2019, and they defeated a really good Manning team and wasn't even close. But the program's getting back. I mean, North Iberville's a great story, but they haven't been in this situation yet. So being in this playoff situation, I mean, I like the road. I mean, I think they'll get by, pretty easily. I mean, I think they'll play Jeanerette in the semifinals, and where I think they'll take care of business for the state championship. The bomb side of the bracket, I think a couple of lower seeded teams will make a run here. I like keep an eye for this White Castle team. Okay,
Yeah.
so there may be five, I believe, going into it, but they're getting hot. I mean, they started off the season with a couple of losses, but their only loss in the final stretch was the Ascension Catholic. But Cedric Allen is a really good weapon at receiver. They beat North Iberville too. So this is a really athletic team. They can make some noise as well. Keep an eye on that team. I think Logansport can make a run too. I think if you look at the top side of the bracket, I think Logansport, they've been in this situation a whole lot before. I see Logansport getting to the semifinals here on the bomb side of the bracket, and I think they will play Mangum. Mangum, if you look at their record, they're 7-3 this year, but you gotta consider some of the teams that they played this year. They lost to Oak Grove by 6 points. They lost 26-20. And Scott Wilters has some deep runs with this program too. I think Mangum goes to the state championship game here, and I think they will play Haynesville. Haynesville will win the state championship, but on the bomb side of the bracket, I like Mangum here. I like the Dragons. They've lost 2 games this year, but like you said, to your point, Grant, they played some tough teams this year. I think they're battle tested. They're used to playing some of these teams. So I like, even though South Plaquemines had a great year, and I like this Mangum football team to make that run as the 7th seed to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason. Like I said, I think the winner of this Mangum home, like I have Homer and Mangum play each other in the quarterfinals. I think the winner of that game will go to the dome. Just because I think both programs are familiar of going to the dome the last few seasons. Homer went to the dome in 2022, so they're only 2 years removed from going to the dome. And then, of course, Mangum has had a great run this recent times, and also this year. I mean, they had some tough games to lose, but I think they're also battle tested, right? So I think they have an easy path to get there as well. So I'm probably going to lean on Homer to make the state championship. I think we're going to lean on them just because I think they have a easy road. I'll say easy road to get there, but it's favorable for them to get there. And I think the same thing could go for Mangum. They have to flip, but it's kind of one of those things where you have to flip the coin. So I'm going to have to go with Homer and Haynesville in a rematch earlier of a game that happened earlier this season where Haynesville won 27-3.
Yeah, I know the Quincy's having a great year, but they haven't been in the spot as much. And I think that's the only reason I'm kind of holding off with the Quincy this year. But the 3 teams I really like in the bomb side of the bracket are Homer, as you mentioned, Grant, Mangum, and Logansport. I feel like those 3 teams, you can see a variation of that in the semifinals. Still, no matter who comes out of that bomb side of the bracket, I still think Haynesville is the best team, and they will get to the dome. So that's 2 for us, for Grant and myself. Now I'm going to go to Alex. So who do you think comes out of this bracket? Are you taking, like I asked, and the car in the field, or are you taking Haynesville, or are you taking the field here?
I'll take Haynesville this time.
Mhm.
It's yeah, that's a really good football team. I don't remember the exact math, but I looked at it after their win against Homer earlier in the season, which was 27-12. Since September 27th, they've outscored their opponents like 350-41 or something ridiculous like that. The games haven't been close now. Is there an argument that they haven't been medal tested? They haven't had to win a close game, but maybe they're just that much better than everyone else, right?
Yes.
So, uh, could someone pop and make a run and try to knock them off? I guess it's possible, but I do agree just with the general sentiment that the top side of the bracket, like we've talked about it for a lot of these brackets, just not as scary as
Yeah.
the bottom side, where you just have a bunch of different teams that maybe can do interesting things. So here is a hypothetical question I will ask to you, Jace, and to Grant.
Mhm.
Flip the seedings of Homer and Montgomery. Homer's the 16 seed, Montgomery's the 15 seed. How much does that change the complexion of things for Homer and for a lot of these teams?
So yeah, like if Homer was a 16 seed,
Homer would have to run into Haynesville in the second round, and the South Plaquemines path gets a lot easier, and all of these things change. How different would the outlook of this bracket feel?
Not
if you
much.
Just switch the Sweden.
Yeah,
Okay.
Not much, because we'll pick Mangum to beat South Bachman.
yeah,
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
yeah.
Okay.
It's the same way. Haynesville is the best team in this bracket, no matter how you.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, it's less about, and when I say how different does it feel, it's less about it being like, would you change the state championship prediction? Like I said, I think Haynesville's going to win the state championship. More just about the feeling that Haynesville's path is super easy, and the bottom side is who the hell knows. There are all these teams. There's just one fewer team down there. It would have been really interesting. That being said, that's not what we have. What we have is Homer, Mangum, Logansport. You talk about White Castle. South Blackman's the 2 seed is going to get a bye. Maybe that makes a difference in the Homer game.
It's
We're kind of
it's definitely a mangled road to get there at the bottom side of the bracket.
yeah, and it's another part of the reason why Haynesville's feels like such a shoe-in to win the state championship here, because whoever makes it out of that bottom side kind of has to bear crawl through broken glass to get there.
Yeah.
And then Haynesville is just there. They've probably this is brutal to the teams they're playing, but they probably won by a combined score of like 150 to 30 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they're in the state championship game, and could that pay that team dividends? Maybe, but I'm gonna go with Haynesville here. As for who they face, again, I don't know. I'll go with Mangum. It seems like they have one of the more impressive games that lost to Oak Grove. That was closer than it could have been, but if Mangum again, there are 4 or 5 teams from that bracket that if you that could make a run. So that's probably the more interesting question. Like, just ignore the top side this season and just look at it, because you lose the state championship game to Haynesville. It's still a state championship game appearance, right?
Yeah.
That's still something that can move your program forward. Grant was talking about this with the team earlier, that it could make some serious waves, that it can make a big difference.
Yeah, White Castle's been to the Dome. Logansport has been to the Dome. Homer's been to the Dome. So, Mangum hasn't really been. Mangum's been to the Dome. Yep, they've been to the Dome too. So, yeah, you got a bunch of teams that have experience there. West St. John has a program. They've been to the Dome too. So, it's just South Blacklands was in the Dome, but they were a different team named back then. I think they were South Cameron, I believe. But there's a bunch of teams here that they're mangled. That bottom side, like you mentioned, Alex, you might be tired by the time you get to the Dome, and it's 1A. This is not 5A where you got depth and you can put in guys. Like, all these guys are playing both ways, and so Haynesville might not only be the best team, but they might be the freshest team. So that's going to be a thing to keep an eye out on. Also, Daryl, I want your thoughts on this bracket too, because I believe all 3 of us has Haynesville. Are you rolling with somebody different, or are you par for the course?
Yeah, I'm sticking. We're 4 for 4. I'm going to roll with Haynesville as well. As Alex kind of touched on, I think their side of the bracket is a lot simpler than the bottom half of the bracket. I think that plays to their strength. I don't see them losing a game on the way to the state championship. But I will say, on the contrast of what Alex said, if I think whatever team makes it out of the bottom half and they have to have a dog fight every single game, if it's a team such as Homer or Mangum, I think that could propel them to play better in the state championship. I'm not sure if it's going to make them play well enough to take down Haynesville, but I definitely think it can either go two ways. You can kind of be worn down from playing tough games week in and week out, and by the time you get to the state championship, you're kind of burnt out, and you know, like you said, everybody's playing both ways. Everybody's kind of tired, sore, hurting, or it could just, you know, every win could just fuel you more and more. Like, yeah, we just got to keep it going. We just got to keep the momentum rolling. And I think if I think it'll be a, because like you said, I was really impressed with Homer and Mangum's just what they did in the season. Mangum, they lost to Oak Grove, and then Homer, their 5-5 record, but Grant broke down all 5 losses, and they all were reputable losses. So I don't think it's something where we can just look past them. And I think if they get to that big moment, they may have it in them to step up. And I mean, I'm still going to roll with Haynesville. Like I said, I feel like I'd be a fool to go against the grain. But yeah, I definitely think the bottom half is going to be a lot of fun. And I think whatever team makes it out of that dog fight, I think they're going to bring it in the state
So
championship game.
so here is I'm picking Haynesville. I'll make that very clear, and I will take Haynesville against the field. But
Yeah,
since nobody's making the arguments, I'll go ahead and lay out the argument for the field.
yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
Here's the world. The teams in that bottom half are a lot scarier, a lot more interesting than the teams in the top half, which means they're collections of talent and collections of teams that if they can get on, like, catch fire, get a heater, they have the potential to have a high variance outcome that could give them a game against Haynesville. Whoever wins that side of the bracket is going, basically by definition, is going to be a team that is kind of ascending to playing at a level that maybe they can compete with Haynesville. Again, I'm still going to take Haynesville against the field, but if the field's going to win, it's going to be because one of these teams, and we don't know which, we don't know if it's going to be Mangum, Homer, whoever, Logansport. We've mentioned a lot of them, but one of them will rise above the rest because they just catch a great 4-game stretch or a
Mhm.
3-game stretch, and they ascend to the level of maybe a couple of things can break their way and maybe they can beat Haynesville. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you wanted to lay out the argument, I think that's what it would be. So that's what I'll say. But again, I'm still taking Haynesville.
Yeah, yeah. Logansport, it actually kind of sets up pretty good for him, at least in the semis. So, like in my opinion, Logansport kind of hanging in there. They're on the heater right now. They won games 46-6,
Hmm.
63-0, 40-8, 55-0, 49-6. So, like, hey, they're on this heater right now. Why not Logansport either? So, yeah, that bomb side of the bracket is going to be very interesting. I mean, you got a lot of sleepers in here. West St. John's a sleeper here. White Castle, and we've already talked about. I mean, Generette. As far as the top side of the bracket, let's just say Faraday could potentially make it interesting with Haynesville, right? We've seen. I mean, Generette's got athletes; they can potentially make it interesting. But yeah, I'm with y'all. I got Haynesville going all the way. So it was like 4 for 4. Hopefully, Coach Franklin don't come after us and say, "Oh, I mean, y'all
Rat
did
poison.
us." But rat poison, right?
Mm.
But let's just see. We'll find out who comes out of Division 4 non-select. Should be an interesting one, and we'll break it down week by week with this trio right here on myself. But that's Division 4 non-select. Do y'all disagree? Is there a team that you think that it's not Haynesville that will win the state championship here in Division 4 non-select? Drop your comments below. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and go to our website, gridironfootballusa.com. And we'll see y'all. Check out our other bracket breakdowns as well as we begin the road to the dome.